I wanted to ask you, especially about the rigging and about the software. Can you describe a little about how that actually works, where the camera's getting your image on say a live event? So you're at a football game and, suddenly there's a big play. The camera has to adjust. How does that software and the rigging and the camera, how does it all work together?
To shoot stereo today, you need two cameras. The two cameras need to be completely interconnected and work as one camera. So they're mounted on what's called a rig. A rig is a motorized, motion-controlled, computer-controlled, at least in our world, 3ALITY's world, device. So we have these very sophisticated rigs. Now, the two types are side by side, where the cameras are sitting side by side, and they can move like this during a shot, or they can move like this during a shot. One of them does this, but I'll explain that. Or a beam splitter, which is one camera looking into a mirror that's reflected out, and the other camera looking through the mirror, so it's a 50-50 mirror. And the reason you do that is on the side-by-side cameras, eventually the lenses bump into each other, so the closest you can get those lens centers is maybe 3 inches on a professional lens. Well, if I'm sitting this close to you with a camera, 3 inches of interaxial spacing, lens spacing, will kill an audience's eyes. Maybe I could fix it for you, but that background will kill somebody. It'll just be way too much. When you take your glasses off, you see the two images, they'll be so separated that you won't be able to fuse them, and it'll hurt to look at it. In order to shoot close objects with distant backgrounds, which is almost everything, you really need an interaxial of 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, maybe an inch. So we work at very small interaxials, and the only way to overlap the lenses is to do it virtually. So we use this split mirror, so the lenses can overlap virtually, and we can get very small interaxial spacings. We use both kinds of rigs, however. The workhorse is usually the beam splitter, because you can never tell if a director wants an actor to come near the camera, or in a sporting event if a player is going to run towards camera. So those are under the control of an operator with a manual controller in his hand, who can adjust this and who can adjust this. And they're looking at the picture wherever they are, near the camera, in the truck, doesn't matter. They could be a mile away, they're looking at the picture. And they're adjusting the camera for this. So the stereo, the comfort stereo, can either be set automatically, but we prefer at this moment, until the automatic stuff is even better, that we have an operator. However, if two images are perfectly horizontal, in other words, one's a little higher than the other, well, then your eyes have to do this to fuse them. That's a little uncomfortable.
It looks uncomfortable.
If there's even a fraction of rotation, then you have two pictures that, well, they're lined up in the center, but the edges aren't lined up. If there's color differences, if there's like 23, 24 different differences you could find in an image, or depth cues, that all really need to be dealt with. So the images are feeding into an image processor we have called the SIP, the stereo image processor, and it's a feedback loop to the camera. It's not adjusting at this point, although you can flip a switch and it will. It's not adjusting the stereo of the picture, the what's a comfortable view. It's adjusting the technical imperfections. So put a bookmark in that. Now on a zoom lenses, they don't track perfectly in on center. No zoom lens does. It could be a $60,000 zoom lens, which is what some of them cost. When they zoom in, they kind of move around center like this, because they're physical pieces of glass moving on cams. And if you're on a long lens, it only takes a micron of shift before you've got 4 or 5 pixels of difference out there vertically. So what the computer is doing is looking at this image, and as you zoom in, it's actually adjusting the camera on nodal to keep the images aligned. So as you zoom, you'll see one of our cameras kind of doing this. All it's doing is matching the zoom of the other camera. When you look on a monitor, you see two perfectly locked, rock-stable images. With every other camera system, in order to align two lenses, say you zoom in a little bit, the director wants a tighter shot, somebody has to run out with a wrench, a screwdriver, a rock, whatever it is they use, and readjust the cameras. Well, you lose time, and it's really distracting for an actor who's really focused on his delivery, and he just delivered a beautiful take, and now the director wants another take just as powerful but closer. it's really distracting to have a crew suddenly descend on the camera and run back, whereas for us it's all automated.